Ah, okay. I think we'll get this to work, people. Excellent. All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is my first live that I've done in a while. I'm really excited to be here. We'll wait a few minutes for folks to hop into the chat. I'm really excited to be getting back into my YouTube channel and to start recording more content for you guys. I'm bursting at the seams with information that I want to share that's very practical and hands-on, and things that you can use in your everyday life to essentially how do I best manage my psychology? And I define psychology breaking down into three areas. So it's with our thoughts, it's with our emotions, and it's going to be with our actions. And so I've been on this journey, as I've shared on the channel before, for well over a decade, trying to summarize what psychology means, looking at the science, poring over journal articles and books, workbooks, going to lectures and seminars, trying to leave no stone unturned in terms of finding not just what the science says from formal psychology, but other forms and modalities of change and how they implement or kind of harness the forms of psychology in ways that with their own spin, make it practical. And then after going on this journey for such a long time, I started to notice themes and trends with that. And so that's what kind of led me to where I am today of wanting to go through and really share with you all what are these themes that psychology offers that are recycled over and over again. And there's just a handful of them. There's 5 themes. And if we know what these 5 themes are, then we know how to make change in any area of our life. So I know being able to implement these ideas has certainly changed my life. Sometimes I joke and I say I'm more than happy to brag about these ideas because I didn't create them. I just, wanted to cobble them together and play connect the dots. So be on the lookout for that. Starting to go on to other channels and be a guest, which is fun. And now with this whole, excuse me, COVID-19 and the lockdown that we're having, that's really kind of hit the whole world. Sometimes I've described it to clients that's like the entire world at once just took one giant inhale, and now we're holding our breath, and we'll wait and see what happens. But with that, it's a time of uncertainty. It's a time of fear. And so as a result, I have felt called actually to want to start doing meditations more often, for a couple of reasons. One, because it settles our own self down, it settles our nervous system. We're able to retrain our brain and think in different ways. Um, More specifically, our mind. I create a distinction between the brain and the mind. So the brain is the physical organ, and the mind is the power in which we think and can harness focus and attention. And it's one of our most helpful assets that we have as human beings is learned how to harness mind. Mind is different from ego, but mind power can absolutely be incredible once we can harness that. And part of that means getting in touch with our heart as well. So with that, I felt called to start doing more meditations. Like I said, both for ourself, being able to settle ourselves down during such a time of uncertainty, as well as for the whole planet. Really, there's a lot of science out there that talks about group intention and what are some of the benefits from that. That this is a very real power that we can tap into when we collect or we unite group consciousness. I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. And so one of my favorite cartoons growing up was Captain Planet, when our powers combine. And, I think to some degree, as corny as that may sound, there's actually truth behind that, that when we can harness collective intention, that it has a very real practical impact in the world around us. So I'll give you a phrase to kind of look up and start doing your own research on. And I'll talk more about this in the future as well. But Maharishi effect is one of those. So MAH, I'll type it in the chat here. So Maharishi. Yeah, so check that out. So I look forward to hopping in the chat later on and being able to answer questions for you guys. I want to make this interactive and try to dispel any myths in particular around meditation. I'll share with you a little bit about my background and kind of what makes me qualified to talk about meditation. So I've been on my spiritual path for well over 25 years at this point. I've read countless books. I've been very fortunate to have a life that's allowed me to read thousands of books, and really wanted to pursue this insatiable quest, this quench that I've been wanting to satiate in terms of understanding what spirituality means. And then soon after that came my love for psychology. And so it seems like a natural blending of a marriage between these two topics for me moving forward. And, so I started meditating, I'd say, end of high school, early college. Funny enough, I didn't even know what mindfulness meant. Even though I was talking to friends and I was practicing the skill, I didn't use that word. I just called it meditation. And then it really wasn't until my first year of graduate school in that fall when one of the research professors was talking about mindfulness. He came in and lectured for us briefly, and I was so fascinated. I thought, are you kidding me? I can do research on meditation? Sign me up. And this was the fall of 2006. So this was right when mindfulness research was really starting to take off. And the research has then grown exponentially, literally, every single year since the early 2000s. And now it's being applied to a whole swath of different topics, anything from economics to, of course, behavioral medicine or psychology. They're finding it with chronic pain, actually, is where the research began back in the late 70s with John Kabat-Zinn running his pilot study. And so, I've been practicing daily mindfulness meditation or some forms of meditation for, what would that be, at least 20 years, I'd say. So that's from a personal front. And I say that because if you're going to learn meditation, it's important that you learn from someone, if you're really wanting to master the skill and move beyond just the basic nuts and bolts, from someone who's had their own practice. This is really essential because it's only when you're able to have gone there and journeyed and traversed these lands yourself that then you can really come back with experiential knowledge and share that with those behind you. So that's kind of my experience on that level. Now, I completed my master's thesis and doctoral dissertation on mindfulness meditation, looking and poring over the research in a lot of different areas, and then focusing on a couple points within that. And I've contributed to the research in the field in terms of mindfulness as well. So from that angle, really have a good grasp on the science behind meditation. And then from there, experience in the field, being able to run meditation groups to help those anywhere from people who have literally studied under Buddhist monks to those who had just learned a couple hours earlier during the intake appointment what meditation meant and had me describe what mindfulness is. So anyway, that's my particular background. And I'm really excited, like I said earlier, to kind of jump in more into the channel and to start talking more about meditation, as well as a whole array of other types of skills and whatnot. So anyway, what I wanted to do today in particular, I know today's Easter, and wanted to hop onto the chat and make a particular meditation for